I want to reassure everybody that making art and filmmaking actually still matter in the current time that we are living in. At the time of this recording, there is a war going on. There is lots of chaos in especially America and our government. There's just many, many things happening, and it can be a time where we feel like there's no hope. We just want to despair. Why should we even bother to keep on creating? If you're a filmmaker, keep on making films. What is the point of art in a time like this? It just seems frivolous and pointless. But I'm here to tell you that it actually still matters, and it actually matters even more during times like this. Art, as I've said many times, is a manual for life. And we need these little instruction manuals in order to help us get through times like these. You can always look back at times of turbulence and you look at the art from there, and you look at times of relative peace and you also look at the art from there. And there's something more like meaningful and powerful about the art that comes from times of great turbulence. It's why the late 60s and early 70s in America are seen as these times where like these great films were coming out, like Serpico and Easy Rider and the quote unquote black exploitation movements, because there was this uprising and political upheaval and people wanted to express what was going on. And we need that in times like this. We need art and films, especially because films is just a lot of it's just the amalgamation of a lot of different types of art forms condensed into one. And it's also the only art form where you can get a lot of people in one place and we all have a very similar experience. You are locked in a dark room. If you're watching in a theater, you are sitting there watching a movie. Everybody is watching the same thing and experiencing the same story. May have different interpretations of that story. The story in itself is one and the same. There's been a lot of talk about how the theatrical experience is dying, about how nobody's going to go to the movie theater. There's a quote going around from the Timothée Chalamet, however you pronounce his name, interview that he did on CNN with Matthew McConaughey, that he doesn't want the theater to go the way of the ballet and opera, which has gotten a lot of people very angry. Recently, last week, I went to an event called Coffee House Cinema by Ellis Sutton. He is on Substack, and I highly recommend you check out not only his Substack, but the Coffee House Cinema Substack. And he curated three short films, all by people of color, and we all sat in a room and we watched them. And one of the things that he said afterwards was that watching these films in a room full of people is way different than watching it at home, because his perception of the film, because there was laughter at certain points with certain films that he didn't receive at home because he's just there by himself. But when somebody else laughs, he was like, oh, yeah, that was kind of funny. I worked on a documentary called Creator Force, which is about how the artists and artisans of Ukraine use their artistic skills in order to support the war effort. And one of the people that was interviewed was a singer named Anastasia. She's a singer and she also plays a traditional Ukrainian instrument. I forget the name of it. I don't speak Ukrainian, obviously. But one of the things that she did during the first days of the war was they went to a library and became a shelter, and there was like a bomb shelter that was underneath. And what she did to keep everybody's emotions from getting too high is that she would make them sing.
Ой, дай Боже, під дубиною, під зеленою, ой, дай
They
Боже.
would all sing, and they would send those songs to the troops in the front line so that way they could see how their spirits were calm and it would lift the spirits of the soldiers up. And one of the things that she said in one of the interviews is that when you are singing, you are here. And I think that is the same thing that happens when you go to a theater and you sit in a room and you watch a movie. You are there. All of the troubles that you are facing, all of the problems of the world, they all go away. Everybody is having the same experience. You are there watching the story that's happening on the screen. And I think people want more of that. I know that there's been a lot of data saying that like the theatrical experience is failing and dead, but also if you dig into those statistics, the largest group of people that actually go to the theater are Gen Z and younger. So that means that younger generations still want to have an experience in the theater. I think part of it is also just wanting to get out of your damn house. I think especially if you were like in high school during COVID, you spent a lot of time like watching movies in your house. So you'd like to watch movies out of your house. At least that's what I like to do. This experience is not going away. And I think it's why we need films and filmmakers more than ever. And I think it's also why generative video and AI is not going to kill films and movies. I don't think you're just gonna be able to like type a prompt in and a movie comes out. A lot of people are talking about the Ben Affleck AI company that Netflix bought, but when you dig into the details, what this company does is they made a tool where you take what you have made already, what you've shot, and you can use the AI and it creates a model and you can do things like relight a scene, maybe change an angle. It's augmenting what's already existing because as much as we'd like to think that one person can sit there and just like make magic happen out of their head, there's a lot more that goes into the filmmaking process. Using the example of Sinners, the scene where Delroy Lindo is in the car driving with Michael B. Jordan, I think it's Stack is the character that he's playing. That performance is amazing, by the way. He should win an Oscar. If you can play two characters and they can both be like different and you can like tell that they're different and it's the same dude, that is an impressive performance. Anyway, it's Michael B. Jordan, Miles Caton, Delroy Lindo. They're driving in the car and he's telling this story about how he was essentially kidnapped by some white sheriffs and he and some friends and they were driven around town and made to like play for a bunch of like rich white people and what happened to his other friends who got murdered. There's a certain point in the script where Delroy is supposed to like stop talking, but because Delroy had done so much research into the trauma and what had happened to a lot of musicians during this time, he just started ad-libbing, and they only had enough track to go to a certain point, and they had to turn the car around so we could keep talking because he did not want to lose this special monologue that Delroy just like pulled from his soul. Like these were just things that he felt in his spirit, and he just had to say it. And that's not something that you get by yourself. That only happens when a group of people get together to make a movie because one person who is specialized in one thing has an idea and they decide to go with that idea, and then everybody else iterates off that idea, and that's how you get that scene, which is probably one of the best scenes in the movie besides the scene that we all know that I'm talking about in the juke joint. And that is the magic and power of something like film, and why we as artists and filmmakers need to step up like never before. I think we need to create lessons to help us process the emotions that we're feeling now for future generations to be able to look back on this time and feel what we were going through. And also, so those future generations can learn from both the triumphs and the mistakes that we made. And in general, just art just keeps on going, it keeps on living, and it keeps on having lessons that future generations will need. And I think independent filmmakers are starting to get this. Content creators already kind of got this. I think in the coming years, the two worlds are going to be merging and we're going to be becoming what I like to call creator auteurs. That's where we take the independence and business savvy of the creators who are very high up in the creator economy. We merge it with the auteur and autistic sense of being a filmmaker. There's a lot of filmmakers doing this already, and I think we're just going to see more and more because I think we all realize that relying upon a large industry or institution does not have our best interest in mind. So keep making your art, keep making your films. Don't give up. It is worth it. We need you now more than ever. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that. Subscribe to my Substack, marislitica.substack.com. I'll leave a link in the description below. I'm trying in this new setup. I decided to, instead of setting up my camera all the way over there and like putting a bunch of lights up, just camera's right there on the desk, flip on the light, and we're ready to go. So let me know how you like this new setup, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.